over the years, I've watched it many times. Every couple of years, I probably rewatch it. I know, there was just there was a 20th anniversary re-release out here in the States a few years ago. My son is going to be 17 this week, and I took him to see it at the theater 2 or 3 years ago at one of those special screenings because it was an important film to me, and I wanted him to see it, and he enjoyed it. When the Criterion Collection released it, I watched it and watched through all the supplements there. It's one of those films that, as much as I love it, and I love it dearly, I really wish that at some point it will become a historical document, a document of the time and of things that used to happen, and it's, every time I watch it, it is somehow still relevant. I mean, it's large. This particular issue of police brutality against the Black community here is, I believe, definitely an American issue, but it mirrors larger issues all over the world. Racism in the States is all over the place and rampant. In India, even from what I've seen, there's discrimination there between Hindus and Muslims. There's discrimination that's
there are many
back
actually,
up, against
the upper caste and the lower caste. There are many
upper caste and lower caste for sure.
Hi Josh, welcome to Spoiler Alert with me, Cinephile Sanket. So Josh, in this episode, we are discussing one of your favorite films of all time, which is called Do the Right Thing, which is written, directed, produced by and starring Spike Lee and Martin Lawrence and Giancarlo Esposito and many others as well. So first of all, Josh, how are you? And please introduce yourself and then please introduce this film as well.
Hi, my name is Josh Hurtado. I am a critic for ScreenAnarchy.com. I also do film festival programming consultations with Fantastic Fest in Austin, Texas. I work mostly with Indian and South Asian films. And yeah, Do the Right Thing is one of my favorite films. Has been since I first saw it. It's, like, as you said, written, directed, and starring Spike Lee from 1989?
Yeah,
1990? 89. It's the story of a single day in a Black neighborhood in Brooklyn where it's the hottest day of the summer and things get very, very tense very, very quickly until tensions boil over and some people make some decisions they can't take back.
Wow. Just a perfect introduction to the film. So so first of all, Josh, what was your experience watching this film for the first time? Like, when did you watch it, and when did you rewatch this film, and like what was your experience when you rewatched this film? Just tell me all about it.
So I first saw the film probably when it came out on VHS. I was very young. 1989, I would have been 10 years old. So I saw it when I was 10 or 11 years old for the first time. Didn't really understand a whole lot of it because, there are a lot of more adult themes, and it's a very well written but very dense film. But I knew that there was something about it that was important. Like, I could tell that it was an important film, and it made a big difference to me. It introduced me to the music of Public Enemy at the time, which would become very important to me in the next few years in developing my sort of political awareness and things like that. It was one of those things. This happened a lot when I was younger. It was that my father wasn't nearly the sort of cinephile that you or I might be right now, but he was still very interested, and so he would go and rent films from the video store pretty much every week, and then he would go to bed, and after he would go to sleep, I would go out into the living room and watch the videos while he was sleeping, and Do the Right Thing was one of those. I didn't know what it was. Like I said, I was only 10 or 11, so I didn't completely understand it, but it made an impression for sure. Over the years, I've watched it many times. every couple of years I probably rewatch it. I know, there was just there was a 20th anniversary re-release out here in the States a few years ago. My son is going to be 17 this week, and I took him to see it at the theater 2 or 3 years ago, at one of those special screenings, because it was an important film to me and I wanted him to see it, and he enjoyed it. When the Criterion Collection released it, I watched it and watched through all the supplements there. So that's probably been 2 or 3 years, and then it got released on the 4K disc again. It's one of those films that I'll just keep buying as long as people put it out with any kind of additional context to it. I'll continue to buy it because I just want to know more. And I watched actually the newest brand new 4K UHD release this morning to prepare for the podcast, to remind myself, and it's a gorgeous film.
Wow. Oh, I actually watched this film just 1 year back. I watched this film I watched the first 30 minutes, and then I, for some reason, I stopped it, and I forgot about it. To watch this film. This happened twice, but the thing was, then finally I made a promise that I'll watch this film in the entirety. Just anything else will happen. I'll watch it. And then when I watched it, I was shocked because I didn't knew what happened, what was happening. From the starting, we know that it's it's a slow burner film. I actually knew that something will happen at the end, because all those things in the starting are just a kind of a preparation what will happen in the end. And then when it happened in the end, I was so shocked, because Mookie, when he actually when he carried his trash can and then just threw it in Sal's pizzeria, and I was very shocked about it. Then actually the judge that did Mookie did the right thing or not. I couldn't figure it out. Also right now I couldn't figure it out. Did Mookie did the right thing? Uh, because but when I actually so the thing is, Spike Lee on his Instagram, he replies to many of his comments, and I actually commented in one of his posts that can you tell that did Mookie did the right thing? I was just confused, because and then Spike Lee didn't answer it, but the uh, one of the person in one of the Instagram user actually answered that if he didn't attack, and if he didn't threw the trash can on the pizzeria, people would attack Sal. So Sal and his both sons. So that's the reason he threw the trash can. And I don't know, but still I couldn't get the perfect answer for it. But I actually still think I actually felt for Danny Aiello's character Sal, because he at one point of time when he was explaining this guy John Turturro's character, that these people, I know them personally, they grew up having my pizza, they grew up eating my pizza, and they the older people actually got much older eating my pizza, and that's the reason I couldn't shift it from here and go to some other neighborhood. And that's the reason I actually felt for his character. But at one point when he actually curses him and says the N word to all those people, and the relationship actually gets betrayed, because just before that, just before entering the pizzeria, those four kids actually, they say that I actually grew up on this pizzeria, why would I boycott them? And they actually went into the pizzeria just for one slice of pizza, and then they actually got betrayed, that this is the guy who is telling us the N word, why should I eat it? Actually, like this happened to me just right now, and got so sad. Like, and the thing is, this thing happened to me multiple times. Like, I don't know in which films, but this thing happened to me in this film. When I watched this film, I don't know, back in April of 2020, the killing of Radio Rahim was kind like it disturbed me at some point, like but not that way. But right now, when I'm like we all are fully aware about what happened to George Floyd last year, and that kind of felt very much similar to me in this film, because when the police officer was just he was grabbing his throat and like wasn't leaving him, and like and showing that thing into like showing that in this film was just so disturbing for me. Like I couldn't like I had to forward that scene. I don't know like why, but like I couldn't watch that scene for that was so much powerful for me.
Yeah, it's one of those films that, as much as I love it, and I love it dearly, I really wish that at some point it will become a historical document, a document of the time and of things that used to happen, and it's, every time I watch it, it is somehow still relevant, especially things like that with Radio Rahim. That killing mirrors not just George Floyd, but like dozens and hundreds of other killings that are now being caught on film, because people have cell phones all the time. That wasn't the case back in 1989, and it wasn't new even in 1989. Like, it was still, it had been happening for years before that. Police brutality, specifically against the Black community in the United States, is a very, very old issue. It goes back to our history of slavery, and it's just, it hits all the time. And when you're talking about Mookie throwing the trash can through the window, and it being a diversion to redirect the rage that the people are righteously feeling. Like, the anger that those people feel is appropriate. They've just watched their friend murdered, and it's the same thing that we have at that same time, April or May, March, June of last year, when the world locked down, generally speaking, after COVID and the pandemic began. But there were still lots and lots of protests out here that turned into riots, and it was kind of the one side of the argument, asking, demanding law and order and keeping these people in check and all that, lamenting all of the property damage and things like that. And it's the exact same thing. It's just a pizzeria, it's just a building. It'll burn down. Even Mookie at the very end of the film says, I get that it's your life, but you'll get the insurance money. You'll get paid back for this. You can start again, and Radio Rahim cannot. Radio Rahim is done. There is no more. And so it's like I said, it parallels all of those things that are still happening today that I wish it could, like I said, could be a historical document of a thing that no longer happened. That's the way we used to be in the US, but it's just not. And I don't think that that's necessarily specifically an American issue. I mean, it's large. This particular issue of police brutality against the Black community here is, I believe, definitely an American issue, but it mirrors larger issues all over the world. Racism in the States is all over the place and rampant. In India, even from what I've seen, there's discrimination there between Hindus and Muslims. There's discrimination that's
there are many
back up,
against the upper caste and the lower caste. There are many
upper caste and lower caste for sure. And those are things that in American law, all of that stuff is outlawed. In the Indian constitution, all of that stuff is outlawed as well. Like caste discrimination is against the law, but it doesn't stop it from happening, you know? And it's that kind of thing where you can draw parallels between our specific American concerns and issues and problems that we have to your particular situation, wherever you are in the world. It could be, you know, caste discrimination. It could be, you know, religious discrimination. It could be anything. But those same kinds of issues exist. And as you know, like I was mentioning before we began recording, I keep fairly close tabs, you know, on Indian film industry, but also just on Indian news in general. It's very complicated, so I don't understand all of it. But you know, with like I said, the advent of cell phones and cell phone videos, you know, and you're seeing more of these kind of, you know, Dalit murders, you know, intercaste or interfaith relationships, murders, people being killed for allegedly selling beef in different parts of the country. You know, not necessarily so much in Mumbai, but in the outskirts, like out in the country, you know, in UP, there's a lot of stuff going on, I know, up there. And these are all out for the world to see now with video, you know, and with WhatsApp, and people be forwarding WhatsApp messages constantly, you know, it's everywhere. So it's one of the things that about this film is that in a lesser filmmaker's hands, the story could be about the riot at the end. But the riot at the end is not what the film is about. It's a slice of life. It's one day. If you watch, you know, Ernest Dickerson, the director cinematographer, yeah, is fantastic. You know, and he's done a lot of Spike's works. He's directed his own movies, mostly horror movies, which, you know, appeals to me. But he is his camera and the way the lighting is, even though it's all shot in bright sunlight. The color timing on the film is deliberately warm, meaning that it tends towards reds, yellows, oranges, where a more neutral color would have been possible. In this case, it's to replicate for the viewer who's not there in the situation, like the kind of oppressive heat of the situation, like the physical heat of it being the hottest day of the summer, you know. And a lot of the time, with the three old men who just sit on the sidewalk, ML and Sweet Dick Willie, and the third whose name I'm losing right now in my head. But the camera is static on them, so it's not a terribly flashy cinematography most of the time. But it is just it's a fly on the wall kind of thing a lot of the times, where he sets the camera down and lets them do their thing, and you get a sense of who these people are. And it's a lot, because I mean, there are a lot of fundamental characters, a lot of important characters in this film, and you have a sense for all of them by the time the 2 hours is up, which is a very impressive feat, because if you have as many characters with names and dialogue, you know, in a film like this, it'd be easy to lose track and have it just be all about Mookie, but it's not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the main reason. Like, in the starting of the film, like, actually, the mayor actually told him, like, just do the right thing, always do the right thing, and that's and even like the fact that, like, I actually watched the DVD commentary, the Criterion DVD commentary, just like right now. I couldn't watch the DVD commentary at the full, but like Spike Lee actually admitted that, like, this film of his is actually very like, people misunderstood this film, like, very much, and like generations to come, like, people will misunderstood this film, but like thanks to like the Criterion collection, they have actually released the DVD commentary of the film, and that's actually very inspiring. Like, have you watched have you listened to the DVD commentary of this film?
I have. It's been a while. I didn't watch it this time. I watched it when the Blu-ray came out a couple of years ago. Also on that set, there's a lot of really good behind the scenes stuff. They did extensive rehearsals and workshopping of the characters, which it works really well, because everyone in the film feels like a real person. Like, they don't feel like they're acting. But that only happened because they were able to take time to develop the characters. Some of the performers were stage performers, and a couple of them were very well known. Like you said, the mayor's Ossie Davis, his wife Ruby Dee, who plays
Mother sister.
They're both great. Like you mentioned, Giancarlo Esposito is one of his first projects. Bill Nunn, who died not too long ago, played Radio Raheem. You've got Danny Aiello and John Turturro and
Martin Lawrence,
Roger Guenveur Smith, who plays Smiley. Doesn't get a lot of recognition but he's done a lot of really good work since then as well. And obviously Samuel L. Jackson, who's kind of a character in his own,
even
literally locked
Martin
in his own
Lawrence.
stage.
Martin Lawrence as
yeah,
well.
Martin Lawrence. You've got Robin Harris. You've got like Frankie Faison. There's just a ton of recognizable actors. Rosie Perez, obviously, in her first film. Just a ton of like really super talented people who feel like lived in characters. Like we just kind of walked into their world and watched things happening as opposed to initiating it. Like didn't feel like the film has isn't forced. Nothing feels forced.
That's the main reason I think they Spike Lee chose to like break the fourth wall, like all those and even like some scenes where all of them were racially slurring, like they were using the racial slurs and all those cuss words against the other communities. Actually at that point I like listened to the director's commentary, and he told that in that like commentary that like he wanted to be that scene he wanted that scene to be more personal to the audience. What if that person is telling to you that all those cuss words and all those words, so what will happen to you? That's the main reason he chose all those scenes to be on the film, and that's the main reason. And I actually love that scene as well. And even you told that like it's about the hottest day of the summer, and I actually like the fact that Spike Lee used the Dutch angle shots as well. Whenever like there's the situation is calm in in the starting of the film, like the Dutch angle that's just like proper, but when the situation actually gets hotter than so even the angle the Dutch angles are actually they tilt more towards the end, so that was actually some brilliant filmmaking techniques, which was which Spike Lee adapted in this film. I just loved that shots as well. And even also you just mentioned that Ernest Dickinson used all those red yellow colors as well, just to depict the hottest day of the summer, and that's the I actually love the fact. That's the main reason I love this film cinematography as well. I don't know, has Ernest Dickinson shot other Spike Lee films? Do you know?
I believe he has. Yes, I think they worked together a lot when Spike was getting started, because this is his, I think, third feature. As far as my remembrance goes, but yeah. Dickerson started working back in the 70s, I believe. But his work on this film is just it's really exceptional. Let's see. Yeah, he's done a lot of TV, I guess. but yeah, he's done some really stellar work here.
Oh wow, okay. But it's just so much goal to for a white man to understand that neighborhood and that piece of work which is so personal to him. And actually didn't understand, like at one point, at just when Radio Rahim dies, and the all those firefighters comes in, and the police arrest Giancarlo Esposito's character bugging out, and they actually shout at Howard Beach. I think, yeah, am I like saying it correctly? Howard Beach or something like.
Yeah, those were
Yeah.
and they mentioned other names as well. There are other incidents that were contemporaneous to the time that were about, you know, police brutality against
Oh, okay.
black young men. And so if you watch me, they talk about, they name check several people throughout the course of the film who've been killed or beaten by police. And then at the end of the film, one of the first sets of credits is the film is dedicated to the memories of, and there were like seven different names of young men who'd been killed by police in that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, those were all just, you know, references for the audience so the audience understands that, like, this is not an isolated incident. This is not something that we are, you know, it's obviously a dramatization and it's a story, but it's also a fairly common type of incident that was happening at the time and is obviously still happening today.
Absolutely. Like that's the main reason I actually mentioned what the events that happened last year, because like I was actually terrified, and like obviously I watched some of the footage from George Floyd's murder which happened, and like when I watched this film, like I like couldn't even watch the entire thing as well, like which happened, what happened to Radio Rahim, and that's the main reason. And even this film also reminded me of a great work like which released just some years before, like which is called When They See Us. Like I hope I have like, have you watched it?
I have not seen that one, but I'm aware of it.
Oh yeah, yeah, you should see. Like I think you might be aware of that like incident, like the Center Park 5 incident. So, but I didn't knew about that incident. So that incident was very new for me. So that's the main reason I loved that series, and that's the main reason I got to know that like police brutality was very much real, and that's the main reason like I connected with this film as well. Like that's the main reason this one of my favorite Spike Lee films, and that's like such a great thing as well.
I mean, I definitely think that Spike Lee is at his best when he is angry, and this is definitely an angry film, or it's an expression of, like I said, the destruction of Sal's Pizzeria was an expression of the rage of the people that had just witnessed Radio Rahim's murder. This film is an expression of rage from, police brutality over the years. You know, he's also done great work, for example, with Bamboozled a few years later, is very similarly themed about the way that the general culture over here processes, Black pop culture and sort of regurgitates it to a broader audience. And one of the things that so when I go to India, I'm white. Here I'm not, because I'm Mexican American. My skin is brown. Like I am not if I'm not white, my wife is white. Like you can stand us next to each other, we definitely look different. But so my father was born in Mexico. My whole family on that side comes from Mexico, and I live in Texas, and which I wasn't born here, but I've been here for about 21 years, which is a border state. We're bordered with Mexico, and there is a lot of negative feeling toward Mexicans and Mexican Americans, even here, because of there's this perceived border crisis and illegal migration, undocumented migrants coming into the country largely looking for work, or looking to escape real trouble back in their own homes. In Central America and parts of Mexico, the crime is and gangs and drug runners are just vicious and viciously murdering people, and so they're trying to escape that to come here. And so my history is my relationship isn't the same as it would be as if I were, a black man in this country. But I still do have some prejudices that I need to, be aware of. It's very common here in the United States for parents, minority parents, black parents, specifically black parents, and to a smaller extent, Latino parents, to have a conversation with their kids about, what do you do if a policeman pulls you over? How are you supposed to act? Because they're, it's demonstrably so that the triggers, well, not literal triggers, but also those, but that police are less likely to give the benefit of the doubt to a darker skinned person than they would be to a light skinned person, so it is, that sequence that you were talking about with all of the different people, using the racial slurs against, at the audience, is very important because, the film is about a black neighborhood, but as you can see, even in the black neighborhood, you've got the white pizzeria, you've got the Korean immigrants who run the grocery store, you've got the Latino guys in there, when they have their little radio fight with Radio Raheem, turning their music up louder and louder to see who wins. We all have to coexist. And
even there's a white cop as well.
Yeah, there's a white cop, and one of the things that they even say during that final sequence, when they're carrying Radio Raheem away and Bugging Out's getting arrested, it's in the background, but one of the people that's about to destroy Sal's Pizzeria says one of the cops was black because one of the cops was black, and it's not, at that point it is racial in a way, but then the police don't conform to that same kind of racial division that the people see, because for the police here, and this is my very left-leaning politics, the police are their power, their authority, and so there's the ages-old saying that absolute power corrupts absolutely. Well, these police don't have absolute power, but what little power they do have, they can exert, and you kind of just have to sit back and watch it happen because they're the ones, with the guns here. They all have guns here. So, and that also comes up in a slightly later film, which was Boys in the Hood, in
John Singleton. Yeah.
There's another part where two policemen come to a house and are trying to intimidate this family, and one of the policemen is black, and he's the one doing all the heavy lifting on this black family. He is the one deliberately trying to scare them, and it's power. It's not like the black cop is a cop first and a black person second in that situation, and it's a dangerous thing out here. Like I said, my skin is not very, very dark, but I'm not Caucasian. I'm not white. And so I have once or twice been pulled over in a car, then we call it over here DWB, which is, if you are drunk, you get pulled over for a DWI, which is driving while intoxicated. DWB here is driving while brown or driving while black. It's just, if you're driving, you can be driving in a neighborhood where they don't expect to see people your color, and cops will pull you over. It happens. Like, I used to work when I was younger, I worked at a store that sold cameras, and the camera store was in the wealthiest neighborhood in Dallas. Millionaires all over the place. I couldn't afford to get lunch in that neighborhood, but I worked there. And so once or twice driving to work, I'd gotten pulled over for, things that were nothing really, just why are you here, kind of things. And that's why the parents have to have those conversations. In this film, they don't really have that conversation. And, by the time the police show up, things have gotten so out of hand that it's impossible for Radio Raheem and Bugging Out to calm themselves And, it shouldn't have, obviously none of that should have happened. And it's like you said at the beginning of our talk, did Mookie do the right thing is the question, but it's also a question that, as you also mentioned, when the mayor says at the beginning to just always do the right thing, like there are constant choices, in our daily lives. And throughout the course of this film, like, are people choosing to do the right thing, and what is the right thing and what makes it right? Does Radio Raheem need to go into the pizza place with his boombox blaring? Maybe not. If he can't hear your order, then that's going to be a problem. Just like in that sense. But is it part of his identity? Yeah. I mean, his name is Radio Raheem. He mentions that in the film. And so it's not just that one choice. There are just choices throughout the film. Like, is Mookie doing the right thing by his kid, by his sister? Is his sister doing the right thing talking to Sal? Is Sal's son doing the right thing talking to his little brother that way? Like, there's always there are just so many choices that are being made here. It's very complex, but we feel like we know all the characters and we know why they make the choices they make, even if we don't agree with them.
Oh my God, like it's so much like to process, but like, yeah,
it's a lot to process. The whole film is a lot to process, and that's one of the
absolutely.
things. One of the reasons I can go back to it every couple of years and watch it and get something new out of it.
Absolutely, but yeah, I'm so sorry, like this kind of things happened to you, like when you grew up. So yeah, but finally, Josh, like I'm sorry to say, but thank you so much like
My pleasure.
for coming to my podcast. So I have to end this conversation, but like, yeah, I had the real pleasure of talking to you about this film, such an important film of our times, and the times to come as well. Like I think like this film is now more relevant than like ever. So and that's the main reason like we both are talking about this film. And thank you so much for coming to my podcast, and like it's been a real pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, and I'll see you soon, Josh. Goodbye.
Yes. Bye.